Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the 155th Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with co-host John W. Today's topic is Step 10. Could you share what this means to you, John, and why you were happy to discuss this topic here today?
Yeah, first of all, my name's John, and welcome to anybody listening to this podcast today. Thank you, Milan, for having me on and inviting me on. It's always a pleasure to see you doing well. I can't believe you've done 155 of these things. That's wild.
It's insane, eh?
That's really cool. I guess the reason I brought up Step 10 today is I think it's just something that's been very pertinent, particularly in my recovery so far. I guess it's my understanding. I don't speak on behalf of any fellowship. I belong into one in particular, but Step 10, I was really just going to share my experience and my things on it, and I may share from some literature particular to Alcoholics Anonymous, but that by no means is this a lecture or a what I say goes about Step 10. I just think it is Step 10 is really where the design for living comes in. I guess I picked that topic because when I first when they talk about Step 10, 11, and 12, often you'll hear the term like maintenance steps, right? They're the maintenance steps, and my opinion is that they're absolutely not maintenance steps. If all I did, if when I came here, if I maintained the level of serenity and peace and all of those things, that I had when I first came into recovery, I would be pretty miserable, right? If all I did was maintain those, it wouldn't go. And there's we'll talk about it in a bit, but there's specific things. There is a phrase where they mention the word maintenance, but I think sometimes it's taken out of context. And maintenance is I have it here. Yeah, yeah. So maintenance is about sustaining the current state uh, by repairing and preserving existing assets, preventing decline and ensuring operational continuity with lower risk. Which really, if when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, preserving existing assets, I didn't really have a whole lot of those. I didn't have a whole lot of existing assets to preserve. If I had preserved the assets that I had, I certainly don't think I would be nearly as happy today or nearly as content. And growth is really about expansion, and creating new value, by introducing like new ideas and entering new areas and avenues of life and developing new and innovative capacity, right? And so I think Step 10, really what Step 10 is it's just Step 4 to 9 all the time, right? Step 4 to 9 is really the new design for living. And like when I go, back through the recovery journey, there's the admission of powerlessness, complete defeat, this idea that, maybe there's something out there. I don't really know what it is. And I would hate to give you the impression that I have any more of an idea than I used to, I have I have a more better relationship with that power than I used to, but to say that I have a grasp on what it is would be very misleading. And Step 3, we kind of go like, hey, God, we make a deal with God. We basically go like, hey, if you help me, I'll help other people. Like I'll help your kids, I'll help you, you know. And and then step 4 to 9 is kind of how we start to do that, right? The first thing we got to do is, identify the blockages, there's this, um, we're trying to get this, develop a new, it says on page 72, what we're trying to do is, I'll just pull it up so I don't misquote it. And I'm referring to the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous in case anybody's unfamiliar. Uh, oh, page 72. Um, Yeah, so we have been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our creator, and to discover the obstacles in our path, right? So the image I get of that is that we're kind of we want we've agreed that we would really like this stream of God consciousness to start moving through us. That would be a very good thing, and that would probably stop me from drinking if I could have this energy supply, flow through me. And so we're trying to get the rocks out of the river or the stream or whatever you want to say, right? And step 5 is we kind of, you know, we show the stream to somebody else and they start pointing out other rocks, right? Or they say maybe that rock's not as bad as you think. Maybe you don't need to take all of that one, but you missed a few over here, so that we can really be cleared of it. You know, steps 6 and 7 are kind of different. We go from like, okay, God, you like just help, help that get rid of the bad things. We go from get rid of the bad things to you can have all of me, right? Good and bad. And step 8 and 9 is we start, we become willing to pick the rocks out of the river. And then with step 9, we start removing them. But if all I do is stop at that, I just got this tiny little trickle of stream flowing of energy flowing out, right? And step 10 and the other steps as well to 11 and 12 are really about like deepening and widening that stream so that I can have really feel God's presence and God's energy and that that thing which I agreed which would solve all my problems, I to have more of a connection with it and to have more of it flow through me. And so that it doesn't, and part of that is, every once in a while I'm going to start dropping rocks in, in the stream again, right?
Hmm.
And so I got to start taking them out right away. Where is the thing I was going to go?
I really like the stream analogy in the rocks because I can instantly picture the turbulence reducing when you remove a rock, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But
Mm.
like, right, like, and I guess the point about, the reason it's important to grow the stream is because if it stays small, it's really easy to block it again.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? If it
yeah,
stays like this small trickling little stream, I might drop one big rock in there and block the whole thing up again. And then if I've agreed that for me to stay sober, that stream has to move through me, I'm in real trouble,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
it becomes a life or death situation pretty quick.
yeah, whereas, by deepening and broadening the stream, I'm given a little bit more of a cushion, not that
Hmm.
it can't get blocked up again, but it's just that I have much more of a nice and a side effect. It's not even the main purpose. A nice side effect of that is that I get things like contentment and joy and peace. But those are not the goal. Those are just byproducts of trying to live in harmony with this power and to
Hmm.
have a better relationship with it. Um, doo, doo, doo. So yeah, I'll just read out of the big book here. It starts on page 84. But it says this is kind of where it starts talking about step 10. It says this thought brings us to step 10. What thought? Above that in the paragraphs above is what is commonly referred to as the step 9 promises, where they talk about, we lose interest in selfish things. We will see how our experience can be useful to others. We'll comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace, right? And that these things will come if these will materialize if we work for them. So that the idea that these things will and have happened in our life, this thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along, right? Just 4 to 9, continuing to practice that.
Mm-hmm.
It says we vigorously commence this way of living as we cleaned up the past. I always like to look up the definition of words I think I know, because I think
Okay.
I'm a bit smarter than I am sometimes. And I make a lot of assumptions, and assumptions I think sometimes can be dangerous. So yeah, strenuous is in a way that involves great strength, effort, or energy, right? So we we oh, I'm on the wrong page, sorry. Yeah, we vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. So, I'm continuing to practice these principles that I've learned as I'm going out and making my step 9 amends, right? As I'm going out, and sometimes, depending on, the level of harm or damage we've caused, that, continuing to do step 9 amends, I've every once in a while I'll still have to make one, but for the most part, like all the major ones have been done, but every once in a while you'll bump into somebody. Like, I had a neighbor move in across the alleyway, and it was somebody in high school whose car I egged while drunk. Do you know what I mean? And I had to be like, hey, like, I reached out, and said, if there's anything I can. And they're like, oh, it's all good. Just happy to hear you're doing well. They kind of laughed it off, but was absolutely willing. So they're like, hey, yeah, pay for a car wash, or I don't know. You
Yeah.
maybe I smashed the window and I didn't know about it, right? And they're like, that was you smashed my window, and would have been willing to pay that, these things come up, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so as we're going, but we continue to live this way as we clean up the past. Um, so we have entered the world of the spirit, right? So entered being, past tense, right? This is not we are entering the world of the spirit at step 10. It
Mm-hmm.
means that like by this point, we have already entered the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. So next means, okay, there's kind of something previous to that, right? And so the previous thing I believe they're referring to is it's back on page 77, kind of near the top of the page there. But it says at the moment we are trying to put our lives in order, but so they're talking about step 9 here. But this is not an end in itself. Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us, right? So, where is it? I have it here. So, purpose. So our purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. So a purpose is kind of the overreaching why. It's the ultimate reason for something's existence. So so that's a big thing, right? The ultimate reason for my existence is to fit myself to be of maximum service to God and the people about me, right? And what a function is the particular how of that specific task or action that needs to be performed. So the function of how I fulfill this purpose is to grow in understanding and effectiveness, right? And it doesn't say maintain an understanding and effectiveness, right? It says to grow in understanding and effectiveness. And I think, we're all familiar with what the difference between maintenance and growth is. But if you're not familiar, look it up. I
Yep.
encourage you, anybody listening, to if you think you know something, confirm it, look it up, right? Find
Yeah.
out. You might be wrong. So, and then they do the thing which, all of us alcoholics need to hear, this is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime, right? We might get the impression that we are supposed to be uh heavenly or saintly or all these things right away, but this is not, right? This is the design for living. This is not something, this is something that we will continue to grow and develop in over our lifetime, and then it says, continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. right? And who are we watching, right? We're watching ourselves,
Yeah.
right? It's kind of I was listening to a good speaker talk about this yesterday. Her name is Olis S. You can find it on Spotify under Mad Dog Recovery, but she kind of gives a talk about step 10. And Olis, if she'd read it, I might be ripping some of her stuff off, but I just get a lot of inspiration from speakers and stuff like that. But where are we here? This, yeah, it should continue for a lifetime. Continue to watch. So, what she said in that tape, what I thought was really interesting was that, we're actually taking the skills we had before we did our step 4 and using them in step 10. And what are our skills before step 4? Well, we're really good at watching the world and figuring out what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
Right? I'm really good at figuring out, oh, my wife didn't do this, or they should have done that, or this person shouldn't have done this, or they should have given me that, or all these things, and or this person's afraid, or this person's resentful, and this person's this, and we take those skills and we start watching ourselves inside, for for these things, and I think all of these things would fall under the category of disturbance, right?
Hmm.
So when these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. So that's our first direction in step 10 is, when we become aware that we're disturbed, the first thing we do is go to God and ask him to remove them. Uh, then the second thing we do, we discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. So the immediately is important because, I don't know if you remember Jim the car salesman. Uh, uh, one sec, page.
Oh, oh, okay. Yep.
Do you remember Jim the where are we? Da, da, da. So so Jim the car salesman, um, he says in his story on page 36, he says, I had a few words with the boss, but nothing serious, right? So in the morning it may have been something serious, but by the time it gets to the evening, right? By the time it gets like later in the day or the next few days, we what we're really good at doing is diminishing, right?
Yeah.
So I may, in the morning it may have been a very bad thing I've done, and by the evening it's like, whatever, they'll forget about it, right?
Yeah.
So discussing it with somebody immediately or as quickly as possible, I think is very important so that we can, so that it's still something we can, and we may discuss it with somebody and it may have not been that bad at all, right? But it's better to find out than to play around because we know these things, these disturbances cause resentment, and for resentment is the number one offender, and it kills more alcoholics than anything else.
Well, and I find even my own personal relationships, it's like if I get to the point of awareness in my part and see it, it's like I want to clear that right away.
Yeah,
So that like that's not my day with that person.
yeah,
Like it's like I do a lot of my work from home. My wife does a lot of her prep work for her art at home. Like I'm seeing her all day.
yeah.
If I don't make my amends and we move on, that day is going to be way more full of defects and resentments than that first one.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really has a snowballing effect. But just like it can snowball the negative way, I believe it snowballs the positive way.
That's
Like
what I
once we,
mean about
yeah,
making it quick,
yeah,
Like if I realize it, I'm okay. I'm okay with being wrong, you
yeah.
know?
It's really hard to push that snowball back up the hill when it's already rolled for a couple hours. Do you know what I mean?
And it's got five other little fragments of other words in it.
Yeah, exactly. But if you can pick, and this is really, Bill talks about it in the 12 and 12, but he says, where we develop this quality that we've never really had before, which is this cushion of self-restraint, right? And I sometimes find the term self-restraint misleading because it implies maybe that like I'm doing the restraining, but really it's God. But but it's done through me and it's just a term and whatever, but the self-restraint, as I practice this, I just have found that as time goes on, like when I first came into recovery, I had like no emotional insulation, my sponsor would say. He was, like there was there was like a millisecond between something happening and me reacting to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like something, the dog pukes on the couch, I smash my water bottle on the fucking floor, right? Like it's just that quick, right? Um, but as I've continued to grow in understanding and effectiveness and this principle, that cushion of self-restraint, it gets more and more over time. So now, not all every day, I'm not whatever, but like most times when things happen, I have about 5 to 10 seconds before I react to it. And in that time, I have a lot more of a chance where I go, before I react to this, I'm gonna go to God.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna go to and I'm gonna do these things here, right? Like I had a it was a bit of a private situation, but I won't discuss it. But I had a situation come up this morning where I woke up disturbed, and the first thing I did, I had this cushion of self-restraint, like 5 to 10 seconds, and I went, "All right, I'm doing, step 10 thing today. What's the first thing that we asked God? I asked God for help, and then I went and asked somebody else for help, and they, helped did my, set me at ease and figure out if there was anything. Thankfully there was no harm that I caused, so I didn't have to make amends, but that's not always the case, and yeah, and then turning my thought, and then this is really like I think that last part gets overlooked a lot, right? Then we resolutely, let's look up the term resolutely. Resolutely is in an admirable purpose, determined and unwavering manner. So we unwaveringly, like we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. That someone may be a sponsee, it may be the dog, it might be the neighbor who's, maybe she's broken her arm or something, needs help with her garbage. I don't know, right? But this is where we take this, inward peace that we've been starting to give in and we start giving it away, right? I think it's on page 129. Well, let's see. Uh, yeah. So, it says father feels he has struck something better than gold. For a time, he may try to hug this new treasure to himself. He may not see at once that he has barely scratched a limitless load which will pay dividends only if he mines it for the rest of his life and insists on giving away the entire product,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this is where we start to really practice that, right? And and it's a practice. It's a spiritual practice. It's not a spiritual getting or perfection or anything like that, right? And step 11 is kind of how we stay is how we let God discipline us in this practice, right? By having that conscious relationship. I mean, conscious meaning like I have to put my mind towards it. I have to like set aside time and do the things and stuff like that. But step 10 is kind of the real practice of it. Where is I going to go here? But yeah, so and then after that, we're given some promises in the book, right? Where everybody's familiar with this, but it's like we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. I don't know, man. I just, sometimes, cease fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol, right? That because really, like what we've been doing as alcoholics or addicts or these people that it is like I've been quite literally insane. Like I've been essentially fighting with reality
Mm-hmm.
for the last however many years. J- That doesn't make any sense. Like who wins against reality? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like I don't know, for some reason I'm getting like the superhero reference, but it's like a freaking guy off the street trying to fight Thanos. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's inevitable. It's just the way it is, man. Like it's just like, this is the deal and like and yeah, so like so for this time will be time sanity will have been returned. So by the time we get to the step and practice it, w sanity has returned. And so what I I've defined sanity by my definition of insanity that I found, and I think the one I think that's the most pertinent, at least particularly to me or to anybody, or as far as alcoholism goes, is insanity is the inability to distinguish fantasy from reality. Like to me, with no God, no program, just running on self-will, right? I'm like I call it like spiritually colorblind to the world. Do you know what I mean? So like
Mhm.
the do you know the like the colorblind tests where they have the red number, like the dots inside of the
Yeah,
green circle of dots? And if you're if you're
I think it's
not cut
57 is like the classic science book one.
exactly, right? So but like I'm color all I see is green dots, man. I don't
Yeah.
see red dots, right? My insane, my fantastical thoughts look just like green ones to me.
Mm.
So I'm just running around doing my thing, and people are like, "Hey, man, that's a fucking red dot."
Yep.
And I go, "What? It looked fine to me," you know?
Yep.
And so really, like, I I really think of like sometimes like the great reality, God, creator, all this stuff is it's almost like a filter. Like it's like I'm putting on those, you ever see those people that are colorblind and they put on those colorblind glasses for the first time and then they can see like all the colors that they were missing before? Like that's really like what happens with this the step 4 through 9 and then 10 is like uh, that is the process in which I put on my colorblind glasses and I see the truth, right? I
Yep.
see, oh, there's red dots all over here. I
Mm.
thought I was doing the green. I thought everything was good, and I see now that like I had a part in this. I was all over these red dots, right? And I can do that. But every once in a while, what happens is I just want to know what it's like to not see,
Yeah.
and so yeah, just that whole process is really how to stay sane, right? Not and so sanity would be the ability to distinguish fantasy from reality, which
Hmm.
I need that great filter for, the great reality. That's my filter. Um, and then yeah, it says where does it say?
But
Truly,
like the tools of step four of breaking it down to your
uh,
part, like that really is kind of like we'll call it the sanifier. Like it turns that insane resentment into like an actual sane picture of what has happened.
yeah, absolutely, totally, and yeah, like content. It turns out continuing to do that in your life is actually really good for you and
But it's
develop.
awareness. Like without
Yeah,
awareness is our vehicle for change.
yeah,
And with no awareness, we're never going to see how to change. And I'm not saying that we have to be the vehicle. Like awareness is the starting point, but that teaches us what to surrender, not to like grab the reins again and be like, "Look out, God, I got this one." Because
yeah. But
I'm.
the funniest thing about that is we'll still do it anyways. Do you
Oh,
know
I
what I
know.
mean? Like,
Oh, I
yeah,
know. I welcome in
yeah,
my life.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I agree with you 100%. But like
Yep.
that's the grit, that's the mystery, and that's the fun. Like, yeah, like I really like. I always like the I guess the more step 6 and 7 stuff. But you know, what we're aiming for is perfection. These perfect ideals. But we settle for progress. But you bet your ass I'm aiming at perfection. The same way, like if I'm shooting at a target, I'm aiming at the bullseye.
Yeah, you're not
Did you?
shooting at the neighbor's car.
Yeah, but as time goes on and I practice shooting at the target,
Mm,
my grouping gets tighter and tighter and tighter, right? So like
yep.
over time, I get better and every once in a while, I might hit a bullseye, right?
Yep.
But I'm okay if I don't, right?
Mm.
But yeah, like I know, so yeah, I think that's I don't know that yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then what we're kind of promised as a result from that is like we will seldom be interested in liquor. Now, no, it doesn't say never. Every once in a while,
Mhm.
uh I one of my I was playing some cards with some friends last night, and one of them was drinking like one of the types of beers that I used to drink a lot of. You know what I mean?
Um,
And I was like, I remember those things tasting pretty good. But then, the thought enters my mind, right? And this next part, which is, if tempted, we recoil from it as if from a hot flame, right? I know, like, I don't even have yeah, I just go, yeah, that's cool. I mean, it tasted great, but it also, I know what happens.
yeah,
Just because it tastes good doesn't mean it's a good thing for me. And so I have that like level of sanity, right?
there's a lady with 23 years down in one of the groups meetings that I go to down in Soyuz, and
Hmm.
for the first time in 23 years, last Saturday, she had a craving for alcohol. Like when
Yeah.
she went to treatment and did all her stuff, she completely lost it. And then all of a sudden, last weekend for 1 hour, and man, it like shocked her so much for that to come back after 23 years. She's like, I just thought it was never going to happen again.
Yeah, well, that's the
That's the,
insanity
yeah.
insanity of alcohol. But the
But
disease, like, even my sponsor talks about that he's been sober for probably pretty close to 30 years now. Um, he still won't tell me when his sobriety date is, but I'm working on that. It's I think he's about no, he's like 27 years sober. But he's a funny guy. Um, but what was I gonna say?
about the craving, like
Yeah,
surprising
but he's
craving.
like yeah, he's like that it's always there trying to kill you. Like it's always there. Like that's like
Mm,
it's just because you're not like you said awareness, right?
mm,
It's just not at the level of awareness or consciousness anymore, but it's like diabetes. Just because you take your insulin and don't eat candy bars doesn't mean you don't have diabetes. You don't suffer from the consequence or the effects of your side effects of
mm,
your diabetes or the symptoms, sorry, is the word I'm looking for.
mm.
Right. And so, like, we often don't suffer from the symptoms of alcoholism anymore, which is, craving alcohol and then drinking alcohol. Right. But every once in a while, a little, the blood sugar will spike. Right. Like in the diabetic, even if they're taking their medicine. And just like us, we'll be taking our medicine every once in a while, that thing will just come up and we'll go, well, that's cool. Right. But that's how we react to it. We react sanely and normally. Right. We go, well, that's an interesting thought. I'm just going to move on now.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, he talks to, so people you hear it from people all the time where, and that doesn't mean that their recovery is bad or that they need to be working a stronger program. It just means that they have alcoholism.
She was like, nothing changed. Like, she's like, I still work with another alcoholic at least once a day. She's like, I go to my meetings. She's like, and like, she's heading up a step working group I'm part of. Like, she is not like, she hasn't gotten complacent. It just was like a random thing. And she's like, and when she described the situation, she's like, I was walking down my stairs in my house by myself. Like,
Hmm.
it wasn't even like she was watching someone or in some social setting
Yeah,
or whatever. And, like the look of bewilderment on her face, and also just the shock. Like,
yeah,
she thought I was going to, she's like, I thought I was just going to be someone who just never craved it again for the rest of my life.
totally. Yeah, well, there's just funny things that happen like that. Like I fucking I remember this was earlier in sobriety, but I have a more recent example too. But like, when I go to the gym, I'll take pre-workout, but it's like white powder. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
so like, I remember dropping a little bit of it on the counter one time, and without thinking, I licked my finger, put my finger on it, and put it on my gums.
Whoa.
But it's not
Yeah.
even. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
No.
just
And
it's pre-workout, but like it's just like it's there. It's just like so
yeah,
wired in.
there's so many years of habits.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was a Corona drinker for years, and it's like I sit there, and if somebody hands me a lighter, like to light a candle or something, because I'm not smoking anymore, like I literally feel like I'm just like popping the
Yeah.
cap off. Like it's
Yeah.
just like there's like nothing there.
Yeah. Those skills are useful though. Those are fun. Like I was really good at the lighter thing too, and every once in a while my friends will be like, I don't have a bottle opener. I'm like, you got a lighter? And I'll just open their drink for them.
But you become an expert at it if you're an alcoholic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really
you
funny.
practice. So,
Sorry.
for step 10, for me, I see it as like the constant peeling of the onion and the course correction.
Yeah.
I always,
Yeah. I
I,
like that course correction. I like that term.
well,
Yeah.
because it is, like
Yeah.
I think every time like I'm starting to veer and I see it, and if I make the amends, and that amends is also, a recognition, and trying not to repeat that same action, or a communication with my higher power for like surrendering, you know, like
Yeah.
for some help on that, then I'm definitely feeling like, first of all, that dry erase board of bullshit that sits in my head from resentments
Yeah.
gets cleared. Because when that
Yeah.
gets full, I walk around like just bitching in myself,
Yeah.
you know? And when that gets cleared regularly, then I'm just so much more free. I started doing that two-way prayer,
Hmm.
and this is what I found in 3 weeks, from here, the back of my head, down to my shoulders, on the back of my head, dude,
Hmm.
that is where I carry weird stress.
Yeah.
I, and like that is the center for me, for like peace and contentment, because it's like, man, I've just been feeling an overwhelming amount of that, and it's just like there's way less shit going on in the back of my head. It's like
Nice.
that whole area of my brain and skull is where I guess I carry a lot of things that are unpeaceful and discontent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and but step 10, it's like it helps me live with more integrity, more serenity, and kind of
Yeah.
like a spiritual freedom. Like it's it 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 aligns me again with the principles
A
when
hundred
I'm not
percent.
when I'm getting out of whack. And so, I think it's also, you were talking about being able to see it, right? Like the awareness. But it's like, once I see something for myself, it's like I can't unsee it. I might not be acting in that positive nature or positive
Hmm.
principle all the time, but I certainly know when I'm not now.
Yeah.
Like there's no more like, maybe this is actually for the benefit of everybody. Like that,
Yeah.
that lie just doesn't last anymore.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
and the good thing about that is that then I'm quicker to correct. Like I can't, I used to, the substances for me, I used to like have emotional amplification in order to enable using. Like that was
Hmm.
my thing. Like I could be way more pissed off at you for anything. I'd be way sadder than I should be, way happier than I should be. And
Hmm.
all of that just was to allow me to, go out on a binge. And and now in my sobriety, like, that's, first of all, the binge thing is just not even existent in my life. Like
Yeah.
there's no running away from this reality, right?
Hmm.
Like, and like you were saying about your definition of insanity, about not being able to tell the fantasy from reality. It's like I had myself fooled in the delusions.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't until my first step 4 that I saw, like, holy crap, was I ever, you know,
Delusional. Yeah.
was I so delusional? And to anybody out there, John is my sponsor. So if we've done his step 5, he knows my delusions, and uh, and we've talked about him. And I'm not afraid to admit that I needed some recalibration even on my second step 5,
Oh
of
yeah.
what I saw in it, and that was an amazing event. Like that was, for me, it was another course correction. It was a turning point. And so step 10, is something that I like, man. I don't wait to the end of the day for step 10. Like I'm step 10 in myself usually by about 8:30 a.m. because sometimes my most effective moments are in the morning.
Yeah.
Like if I wake up tired, woo, like I can not, I can be not fit for human consumption. and 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 so I try to spend time centering myself and getting myself to a better place before others are even part of the picture, but that doesn't always work.
Yeah. Well, I like I really like the term you said about course correction. I because really what it is, like yeah, like step 10 being step 4 to 9 all the time, which means I'm doing step 5s on a regular basis, every time I
Mm,
get disturbed or I
yeah,
think, I'm unsure of if I messed up or I'm running it by somebody else.
yeah,
I'm trying to find out, like I did a step 5 this morning, right? Like first thing in the morning, like um but yeah, like the basically, yeah, step 10 is like the navigation system on the rocket. So
yeah,
say, we're in a rocket ship, right? And we're going to planet God, right?
yep,
And it's a straight path to planet God. If all we just keep the thrusters on, don't change anything, we go straight. The problem with that is there's all these black holes off to the side along the straight path, right? And every once in a while, the gravitational pull of these black holes will start sucking us off the straight line. That sounds bad, but do you know what I mean?
yep,
But pulling us off the path,
yeah,
right? All these whole and so as we and as we start to drift, but our rocket has a navigation system, right? Course correct has thrusters that
mm,
push us back onto the path, right? And that's really like what the step 10 is it's all the tools, all the systems in the rocket ship that get us back onto the straight path, which takes us to planet God.
and it's without that continual recalibration, we are going to start either catastrophizing about the future
Yeah.
or living in the past, and that'll remove us from the present moment where we'll have no chance of conscious contact.
Totally. Well, yeah, like what happens is eventually, if I don't do my course adjustment, I go beyond the event horizon of the black hole.
Hmm.
And once you pass the event horizon, there's no going back,
Yeah,
right? And so yeah, so like that, it's critical, it's mission critical to stay away from the event horizons of all these black holes. And so, but then we start to see that we really do have a part in it. It's not the black holes.
yeah,
It's me not adjusting
yeah.
to life the way it is, right? All this stuff is going to be there. It's
Acceptance.
it's it's my inability to adjust to life on as it is, life on God's terms, the world perfect just as it is. There's nothing that needs to change. It's my
Hmm.
inability to adjust to it that causes harm to me and to others. It's not it's not all these other I used to think it was all these other things. If that black hole wasn't there and this wasn't here and so I'd be okay, but it turns out like no man, you just got to use your rocket ship.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and and that is to me the most amazing part, like of the steps is that how they bring you into awareness of that and also offer you a solution to clear out, you know, the past. Like even if we just became aware and move forward now, if we don't clear out all that other stuff from the past, we're still going to be not here, present in the moment. You know, like there's the the image, like the constant step 10 is great from everything from now on, but like the original first round really was like, you show up at a hoarder's house and there's shit everywhere, right? Like you got 40 truckloads to get rid of.
Yeah.
Step 10, hopefully you don't have 40 truckloads every day of stuff to get rid of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, and that's the right. Exactly, that's the thing is we keep it to like maybe a box or two a day. Or
yeah,
maybe there's a bad week and we let one room get real dirty. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
But it's never, hopefully, it's never back to that point of, the whole house is the hoarder's house again.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and it's real easy to sweep your kitchen once a day than it is to
Yeah.
like empty a whole house once a day.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
Yeah,
and,
see,
and,
let's
and that's
sorry.
the whole thing about, I think, it being regular.
Yeah.
Like is the maintenance aspect of it is to keep it so that we don't veer too far off the path. We
Yeah,
don't want to burn all our fuel because we're perpendicular to the line of direction.
yeah.
We want to be like, psh, psh,
Yeah.
psh.
Right? Like, yeah, if you ever watch the Rockets, they're just
Yeah,
little things. It's just little
yeah,
it's like a little booster for like half a
yeah.
second going, do you
It's
know what
like
I mean?
psh, love,
Yeah.
acceptance,
Yeah.
forgiveness.
exactly. But no, yeah, I really agree with that. Like, yeah, like it's the maintenance aspect, like here it says, what we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on
Contingent
the
on the
maintenance
maintenance
of our
of our
spiritual
spiritual
condition.
condition.
But what they're referring to there when they say maintenance is they're like, is like our spiritual condition is something that grows or it dies.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? And so the maintenance of our spiritual condition is like, maintaining to take those regular actions. It's not I'm
yeah,
maintaining this level of
yeah.
like I'm just doing the bare minimum. No, it's like I'm maintaining all the things I need to do to continue to stay on the course, right?
That's right.
So I'm maintaining the things I need to do to continue to grow. It's not like I'm maintaining this like little low level of serenity or peace or just like, yeah, if I just show up to meetings and I just share the meeting every once in a while and that's enough. That's not what we're talking about, right? But it's this
Yeah,
practicing our principles in all our affairs. This is like, how do I interact with my family,
yeah,
right? How do I interact with my boss? How do I interact with the world when I become disturbed? And how can I become undisturbed as quickly as possible? Because, it says there like uh we have our reprieve is contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Disturbed is not a good spiritual condition.
no, no one's ever been like disturbed brought me joy.
Yeah, like disturbed is not a good spiritual condition. So it's basically like as soon as we get quickly getting back to undisturbed. And in the 12 and 12 Bill says, it's a spiritual axiom that whenever we're disturbed, the real problem was with us, right? Not
Hmm.
not with the thing we're disturbed about or the person we're disturbed with or whatever. And what's wrong with us? We're disturbed.
Yeah.
Disturbed, not a good spiritual condition, right?
Hmm.
I can't wait for them to fix whatever they got going on so that I can be undisturbed. I need to do whatever I can to become undisturbed as quickly as possible.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you want to do some questions?
Uh,
It's up to
yeah,
you.
yeah. I mean,
I
I,
can tell
I,
you, you might want to not do it. Do you have some sort of tone there?
no, 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 no. I'm trying to think of good questions. Maybe do you have one first while I can sit on one?
Yeah, sure. Okay, step 10 turns awareness into action and
Hmm.
action into freedom. How has your daily inventory evolved from early recovery to now?
Um, I think really, I mean, one of the biggest ways it's changed a lot is really having like when I first got sober, or in my previous attempts to stay sober, I relied like a lot on my spot, like way too much on my sponsor. Like he's great, and I still call him all the time for stuff. He's still my like go-to number one guy. But there's, I think something I heard in a Sandy tape or Sandy B, who's my AA hero, you know. Uh he talked about having like 3 to 4 people who you have who you have an agreement with that says that basically like, hey, every once in a while I'm gonna text you, call you, whatever, and I'm gonna need 45 seconds to 2 minutes of your time to be like, hey, this is what's going on, da da da. What do you think? Right? And that they're on the same path that I'm on, right? That they're going through the step. They know what I'm aiming at. And so that they're going to give it to me straight. They're not going to rationalize or justify my behavior or anything like that. They're going to tell me if I'm being selfish or if I'm being dishonest or if I'm being fearful or right? And then I can go on from there. But having more than just him to rely upon, like growing in that. And then now I have, if I really in a pinch, I have way more than 3 or 4 people I can reach out to, right? But to have those people is, I think, like really, really helpful, and it helps because then you also have that relationship with them, and then every once in a while they call you with wigging out, and you go, oh yeah, and like I get to help and be helpful, and I get to not think about myself for 45 seconds,
Hmm.
right? And that's like, that's a best gift anybody could ever give me is for me to not think about myself,
Hmm.
right?
Uh, Why,
Right?
that's it. I think that's really one of the greatest benefits to service initially.
Totally. Well, that's like I really trying to start thanking my sponsees. So like to thank you is like thank you for all the hours you gave me of not thinking about myself. That was a precious gift, and that I can never repay because it's like the best thing I could ever be received is those hours that we spent together. There, I didn't get to think about John at all, and I just thought about helping you. You know, that's freedom, real freedom. So thank you.
One of those last things you sent me there, the Mad Dog ones, and it
Yeah.
had the two guys doing the steps together.
Yeah.
But the one guy was like, "Yeah, I'd like to thank you for 1,182 hours." Like,
Yeah.
he calculated how many weeks or whatever it had been since they had started out together, and he had a number.
Exactly.
He had a running tally, and I thought that was absolutely hilarious to
Yeah.
just go through to do, as an exercise.
Totally. Yeah, no, and I really like I heard that and I was like that's exactly what it is. Like that's the
Yeah.
feeling I get. Because
Mm.
like when I go, whether it was you or anybody else, like there's so many times where I've gone into those things being like I don't want to be here or I got better things to worry about. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I got stuff to fix. I got problems to solve. And then I go into there for an hour and I come out totally changed, like
Yeah.
elated. And my problems don't look like problems anymore.
Yeah.
Like what happened? I was able to put it down. How was I able to put it down? Well, I had to pick something else up.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Using that attention of your brain towards another person. Yeah, I've got a couple really rewarding times right now with a couple sponsees where it's just I'm overjoyed to go spend time with them. Like
Yeah.
like it really is just it's a real journey together. Like that's the thing I think a lot of people don't see until they start to do it is
Yeah.
that it doesn't just become about you putting your hand out and helping someone else. It
Yeah.
becomes a journey together
Yeah.
because if the person's active in their recovery and you're active in your service to them, then it really becomes something that's quite exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just all that stuff that we talked about today, like the page 77, real purpose is to fit ourselves to be a maximum service
Mhm.
and God is and when we are fulfilling that purpose, we feel amazing,
Yeah.
right? We feel incredible and right, like this we turn our attention towards someone we can help, right? We resolutely turn our thoughts or our attention towards somebody we can help,
Hmm.
right? Like there's so I mean like I could pull up a billion quotes from the big book of like it, it constantly talking about helping others, being of service to
Mm.
others, whether it's alcoholics or just in the world.
The greatest immunity.
Yeah. But like
Yeah.
the number like that, yeah, that's really the design, that's the design for living, right? That's it is the you know uh clean house trust God, right? And
Yep.
some people say help others, which I think is Dr. Bob or whatever, but my personal thing is I think that's included in trusting God, but
Yeah.
if you need the clarification, sometimes I do. So helping others is good in there, right? Because
Yeah.
trusting God can sound a lot like, oh, well, I'll just wait for God to do his thing. And he's like, no, man, I got shit for you to do.
Yeah.
There's
I,
there's
I
like
think.
there's like five new drunks that came to that meeting last week. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I'm really enjoying about the two-way prayer
Hmm.
is like whatever sort of answers I'm getting, it's making life a lot simpler.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like how and my questions right now are fairly repetitive because I feel like I'm, at this point where there's a certain few things that that I'm trying to learn better and
Yeah.
and and bring more of certain things into my life but you know I have less stuff on my step 10 if I listen to what I'm being told.
Yeah, well, and that's, if we could get into step 11 stuff, but that's right.
Yeah.
It says we alcoholics are undisciplined. So we let
Yeah.
God discipline us in the simple way we have just outlined.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm not capable of disciplining myself,
Mm.
right? And sometimes when you hear the word discipline, I think of, you know, the punisher or the teacher, somebody like
Mm.
putting us down, but discipline is let me find the discipline definition. Um, yeah, the practice of training to obey rules or a code of behavior, right? So
Yeah.
it's just God just keeps us adherent to these,
Mhm.
what is the cause, you know, being of maximum service to his
Mhm.
children, right? And I can't do that if I'm disturbed or I'm being self-centered or, yeah,
But like for someone like me, I was not living a principled life. Like I don't know about you, but it did not sound like it in the stories you've told me. But I was not living a principled life. But also, nor did I really understand how in some circumstances. Really, like I was always kind of like
yeah,
there. Like it's almost honest and it's almost loving, but
yeah,
going now into the two-way prayer, I'm going to bring that up again just because it's kind of helping to sculpt my actions now, is that it's taking more questions out of my moments. And
hmm
when the questions are gone of how I should be acting, it's like there's this little thing right now, like keep no record of wrongs. Like, and it's something that's one of the things that came back to me because I'm reading that Corinthians 13 before I do mine. Because I,
hmm
I feel that for myself, if you look at those four things, the honest, pure, unselfish, loving, right?
yeah,
Well, it's just like, I started looking them up and that. But then I think that Corinthians 13 is one of the best definitions of love out there. And,
yeah,
like, and that's just my opinion,
yeah,
like,
hey, yeah,
but,
for sure.
if you can love like that says, you're going to have some pretty deep relationships as far as I'm concerned. But one of the things that I really saw inside myself is that there is some sort of record of wrong with almost everybody,
Yeah,
and that shows me that my love isn't pure.
yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, it's always, either somebody's doing something wrong, I'm doing something wrong, or the
Mhm.
world's doing something wrong. Like the universe is not behaving the way I think it should.
But it's also when push comes to shove, and it's like it's my rationalizer.
Yeah,
It's my rationalizer in a high speed interaction that's going sideways with somebody. It's like, well,
no,
okay, like at least I'm not doing it as bad as them, or whatever it is, or my response,
yeah,
like what they said was hurtful, so here comes my hurtful comment or something. But it's like I don't want to do that at all.
yeah,
I don't want to, but it happens, in real time. That can happen if I'm tired, if I'm not centered, if it's happening too fast, just given different situations, like
hmm
things I've learned about myself. But when I start to, you know, try to listen, try to understand, try to lose that record of wrongs, it's like little things like that can just keep me a little bit more centered in those moments and
yeah,
acting in less shortcomings.
for sure. Well, it's like, I guess that's why I mean, the whole God-centered thing is important, right? Or, when I think of love, I think, or, when I think of God in the most simple terms I could come up with, it's just the loving awareness of the universe,
Mm,
right? But like when I run on self-propulsion or self-will, I'm obedient to the God of rationalization,
yeah, and self-centeredness.
right? But but I'm obedient to the God of not all like my rationalization,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I can rationalize just about fucking anything.
yeah,
You,
exactly.
but when I'm God-centered, I'm other-centered, I'm obedient to the God of love, the
Yeah.
God of forgiveness, the God of, tolerance, the God,
Mm,
I'm obedient to that God, and that and yeah, I this is an old Sandy thing as well that I really liked is that, he said I believe, in this life, I believe we're really only given one choice. And people go, oh, well, what about free will or all that stuff? And he's like, yeah, that sounds great, but no, I think we're only given the freedom of one choice. You choose God or you not choose God. If you choose God, He's making the decisions. There's nothing for you to do. You're just following the directions and doing the thing, and da da da. And if you choose no God, well, then you're obedient to your character defects, and they're making the decisions, and they're running
yeah,
the show, right? And that's it.
absolutely. Yeah, that they totally are.
Yeah.
Okay, so how has my daily inventory evolved from early recovery to now? Well, I still consider myself in early recovery, but it has it's it's diminished in quantity most days. You know, when I'm tired, obviously I feel for myself, sleep has a big thing to do with my defects and shortcoming
Yeah.
exhibitions. But, how my daily inventory has evolved is that I think I'm very much quicker to make my amends,
Hmm.
one of my friends on the podcast, he calls me Step 10 Starcic because something might happen at the beginning of the podcast and I'm making an amends to him by the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, Step 10 Starcic. Like, but for me, like I think that it's becoming easier to see. Like
Yeah.
it's not like I'm just fabricating brand new defects. I'm recycling old pain, you know, and that's manifesting. It gets sneaky some days, but it's really mainly the same things,
Yeah.
and so I think I'm getting quicker to spot it, and I'm getting quicker to step away, if not avoid it.
Hmm.
So I think that my daily inventory really and my reactions to that. I have one. Well, I've got you and I've got my friend Gabriel, and we call ourselves Calibration Brothers.
Hmm.
And that's exactly it. We could call and be like, "Hey, gonna do this. Is this totally crazy or what?" And 90% of the time, if you're calling thinking something's crazy, it already is. You know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I guess I don't know. I guess something that's changed a lot in mine is I think in the beginning I confused step 10 with step 11 a lot.
Hmm.
Like step 10 is continued to take personal inventory. There's no like morning, evening, night inventory. It's just constantly as I go through the day,
Yeah.
right? It's
Mm.
continuously. And then in step 11 is when I actually like go over the day with God and constructively review the day, right? But those two things are they work together, but they're separate. Like I used to think that that part at the end of the day where I talked to God and reviewed the day was step 10, but it's not. It's step 11 stuff.
Mm.
And step 10 was really the action and the practice of right living that I had learned through steps 4 to 9,
Mm.
right? And and maybe even the steps before that I think could be included as well. But yeah, I think yeah, I don't know. Uh do you ever find it particularly difficult? Like I mean, are there still any certain defects or anything you're kind of unwilling to or struggle to go to God with a bit more sometimes? Not that you have to name them particularly, but like,
I,
do you
I
ever
I would say like
run
like
into a wall?
absolute honesty is the hardest one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's you know, I'm sheltering people from pain by
Yeah.
being remaining silent. But like it was funny. I felt, gosh, maybe it was a couple months ago. I was really feeling like I was struggling with what to do with certain things, and about different honesty things. I'm not going to get
Hmm.
into the
Yeah.
details
Yeah.
just for the sake of not hurting anybody else on
Yeah.
there. But the very day that happened, I went to this meeting, and this lady from Karamis came out, and she shared she shared on honesty. Like it was like something that she had just gone through this massive thing, and how she had had this big sort of revelation about it. And I mean, it might sound really easy to somebody out there who's like, oh, you're just honest or you're not. But really, most people operate on a spectrum of honesty,
Mhm.
you know? And, but she got really into it, and I really loved it. Like, she's just like, there is no white lie, there is no little lie. There's
Yeah.
honesty or dishonesty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it really is that, though.
Yeah.
Like anything else is us not even being honest to ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's like, what is, in doing my, step 10, there's become aware, sometimes when I'm doing reviews or sometimes every once in a while I'll get real disturbed and still do written inventories, right? Like you know, um, and the written inventories are really good for me to see
Hmm.
and to maintain that practice of four and stuff like that. But uh, the types of dishonesty, there's lying, like just straight up lying, like consciously lying to somebody. There's oh, what is the other one? Withholding information,
That's
you
lying
know,
by omission.
lying by omission, and then there's delusion.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there's delusion where I'm lying, I'm just like, oh, this is fine, or this will be, there's nothing wrong I did here. I don't have to do anything, there's just straight up
Yep.
delusion. Yeah. And those are like the three types of dishonesty. I'm sure there's more. You could break them into subsections or whatever, but
Yeah.
yeah. But
But
I think,
those get most of it.
yeah, well, it's really easy to see the first one because it's hard not to be aware of it because you had to make a conscious decision to lie,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
The second one's a bit harder to see because you can kind of rationalize it a bit to yourself. And so
Hmm.
having other people or, but yeah, the lying by omission, like I think that one comes up a lot for me still. Uh,
That one is the hardest one
yeah.
because it's like you have to decide where it's going to cause pain or not.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely difficult, but it gets better over time, I think. You get kind of bit easier at it, but still, yeah. But then, yeah, then the delusion one is you actually absolutely have to have somebody else help you with that because you're delusional. You need somebody else to go, hey,
Yeah.
what's
Well,
that?
and I found, like in my first set of steps and even in my set with you, when
Yeah,
like it takes somebody else almost shattering the ice to see the water underneath. Like it's like,
yeah,
you're like, I'm just seeing a frozen pond. But
yeah,
you're
yeah,
like, no, no, hold on, look, there's water and fish down there. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, exactly. I like that. That's good. That's a good one. But yeah,
And I was just gonna say, and which one for you do you find yourself hanging on to?
what is it? It's absolute honesty, absolute unselfishness, absolute forgiveness. No, what are the four absolutes?
Honesty, pure,
Purity.
unselfishness, loving.
Purity is problem. I don't know. Obviously all of them. I'm absolutely none of those that all those times. Those are the targets, right?
Yeah.
Those are the bullseye. I'm not all those things all the time, but I think sometimes like I guess every once in a while I notice that my actions start to become about like am I doing the right thing to do the right thing, or am I doing the right thing so people see me do the right thing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
People pleasing.
Yeah, like or do you know what I mean? Am I actually uh remorseful for the wrong thing I did, or am I remorseful that I got caught doing the wrong thing I did?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
These are
Yeah.
two totally different things, right?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so I think that one is probably one of the more insidious ones that creeps back in the way the ego that it's just not pure, right? It's a little tainted. There's a little string, there's a little thread there, and if you
Hmm.
pull on it, the whole thing comes apart,
Yeah.
right? And I think yeah, like that those that yeah, the and then I still find myself getting caught up in that, right? Like, am I being forgiving to be forgiving, or am I being forgiving so that someone will go, John, you're so forgiving. Like, wow, I can't believe you forgave me for that. Do you know what I mean?
He's such a forgiver.
He's such a forgiver, right? And I get like that. I get like that still, and it's pretty wild because like it's creeps back in. It's like
Yep.
below the level of awareness until one day you're aware you're doing it again. You're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
right? And then, but thankfully, we got a program and people to help me and God and all that stuff, so that I can go. Oh no, why don't we just do the right thing to do the right thing? Okay, why don't we forgive just to forgive, even if we never get an apology or an amends or a. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? What if we just
Yep.
forgive? Just for the sake of doing that, just because it's the right thing to do, and then
Yeah.
that's free. I think that purity one is absolute purity is one of the one of the more trixier ones, if you will.
Well, it's not one of the four for no reason.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and like and looking at those four, for me right now, my own personal quest is really looking at love.
Hmm.
Like I really am just fundamentally trying to deepen my love with the people in my life.
Yeah, I if you haven't read it yet, maybe I'll send it to you, or I'll just say it for the people potentially listening to this. Um, is there's a Grapevine article Bill wrote in 56, maybe I'm getting the date wrong, but it's called Emotional Sobriety, The Next Frontier.
Okay.
And he talks about a lot of that stuff, right? That like realizing that, his true fault had been dependency,
Yeah.
right? Like this absolute dependency upon money, people to provide him with a level of security or comfort that was not a real, like, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
unreal, totally beyond and that these things were creating these disturbances in his life and all this stuff. But it's a great article. It's really good. And yeah, I definitely
Would you
suggest people read
Google
it.
that to get that one up, like for
Yeah,
Oldham?
that's what I did. I
Yeah.
just went it's like Bill Wilson Grapevine Emotional Sobriety.
And boom,
And
it's there.
yeah, it's literally the first thing that
Okay.
comes up. I
Cool.
I can post the link in the chat. Um, do, 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 do.
Awesome.
Uh,
So are you ready for another question?
shoot.
Okay. Step 10 invites humility not as punishment, but as a path to peace. How do you keep humility at the heart of your daily inventory?
That's a great question. Um, yeah, humility is kind of one of those things that, in the beginning, they talk about it in step 7, in the 12 and 12 Bill does. But, we start, in the beginning, we see humility as something that we have to have, right? If I don't get humility, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna drink again, and I'm gonna whatever. Like I need to. And then as we go and we attain more humility through the practice of, step 9, making these amends, um, step 10 and 11 and 12, as we go about and obtain humility, we start to realize that it's, something we actually want, right? That it's something that's it doesn't have to be forced given to us humble pie every time. I can actually take a little bit at a time and sit down and have it, and like on my own willingness and accord. And yeah, so I don't know. Like I think that's really I think Bill even talks about it in that article. I think he has a great way of see if he can define. Let me just humility. Yeah, um so he defines humility as the development of more real maturity and balance
Ooh, I like that.
in that article. So yeah, the more real, like real maturity, not I think I used to think maturity was like people think I'm the big shot or people
Mhm.
think good of me or like I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like
I liken it to wisdom at this point.
yeah. Yeah,
Like maturity is like the mental state of acting with wisdom almost.
yeah, for sure. And I guess yeah, just like I don't know. I think I have a just through working the steps and practicing
Mhm.
it. But I really think like, yeah, humility is not like a knowledge, like you said, it's closer to the wisdom. It's something that you acquire through experience, not through knowledge.
I think too, like for me, humility feels like being able to look at something and put aside my ego to not distort the reality. Like when I'm
Yeah,
looking at myself, like the the ego filtered me doesn't see the truth about my actions.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, I think like yeah, humility is I mean, true humility is everything's, I live in God's world and if that's the case, there's not to me absolutely everything's perfect just the way it is, right? And
Hmm.
my monumental plan of action of true is simply allow everything to be just the way it is,
Yeah.
right? And that sounds really passive, but it's not. Like sometimes I think when I got the wrong impression that that was like, oh, so I'm just supposed to sit here and do nothing. No, there's lots of things you can do, whatever, but like it's the like I now have permission for the world to be the way it is, right?
Mm.
Even if I don't, I'm like, okay, well, maybe this isn't, but who knows? And it's really just been my experience through recovery and through lots of things that have happened in recovery that sometimes the things I think I know are just not true. The things I think that are good for me are not good for me. Do you know what I mean?
Ooh, that is so
And
true.
and the things I think are bad for me are actually like my are the greatest things that ever happened to me,
Hmm.
right? And my number one example of that is my alcoholism. Like when I came to AA,
Hmm.
totally defeated, bro, I was like, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. And now it's easily the best thing that's ever happened to my, like, do you know what I mean? It's not even
I
close.
100% believe, like I, I was re-confronted by my moment of dying when we were in Vancouver.
Yeah,
Like I hadn't been to that hotel since that night
yeah,
I died.
yeah,
And it was just like, I was like, wow. I'm like, I look at that as one of the greatest turning points in my life.
yeah. And at the
You
time, it was awful. Do you know what I mean? So
know,
it just shows me that I don't know anything. I don't really
yeah,
know what's good and bad. Like that, I think that's what I mean. In my most simple definition of humility, it's just that I don't know what's good and bad. If
yeah,
I catch myself sorting and categorizing
yeah,
people, events,
yeah,
feelings,
yeah,
anything into good and bad categories, I'm now I'm off the track. I'm not playing,
yeah,
true humility is that's God's business and that
yeah.
everything's perfect just the way there is no good to bad. There's just the experience of life,
You
right?
always hear people say humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less.
Yeah. Yeah. I yeah, I mean in a sense, very real sense, yes. Like because really like what I think when I'm thinking about myself, I'm thinking about myself in relation to everything,
Yeah,
right? And when I'm thinking about my relation to everything, I now exist separately from everything. How is that
yeah,
possible? How can I exist separately from everything?
yeah,
That doesn't
right,
make sense. That like
yeah,
everything would include me.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
That's the word everything means. But
yeah,
so yeah, so I think that's, when I think about I'm just thinking about the everything as oneness. But as soon as I start thinking about myself in relation to
mm-hmm,
people, places, things, do you know what I mean? I'm now separate. I'm now separate from people, places, things, all that stuff. And when I'm separate, that's really my only problem is that I believe in the delusion of separateness. And my one solution to that problem is to just come home and to realize I've never been separate and that it's
yeah.
always been here. So yeah.
I love that. Um, are you ready for a question?
Sure, shoot.
Or do you have a question?
Um, what was your original question? I had one after you asked it, but I wanted to let it go because I wanted to listen and be present.
How
But
has your daily inventory evolved from early recovery to now?
okay. Yeah, was there not one you asked after that?
Oh yeah, yeah, but you
Uh,
said
or
original.
sorry, no, sorry, I meant that one. I meant like the most recent question because we kind
Oh,
of went
okay.
on a tangent
Yeah,
there.
the most recent one was do, 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 uh, this step involves humility not as punishment but as a path to peace. How do you keep humility at the heart of your daily inventory?
Um, I guess what why do you think humility is important? And what would be your one sentence definition of humility?
Whoa. I don't know if I have a one sentence definition of humility.
Most good ideas are simple.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. What was the first part to your question?
Um, that's a great question.
Was it
My brain.
why do I?
Why do you think humility, the attainment of humility is important? Or keeping it centered, like you said, like, keeping it centered in your recovery. Like, why do you even think that's important? Why do you need humility?
I think that the humility is necessary for me to see my place and part in the universe. Like otherwise, I feel like for my whole life in addiction and before I really started doing the steps,
Hmm.
I just had an inflated sense of self-importance that was very good at distorting my reality.
Yeah.
You know, like um, it's like I see honesty and humility as like the best friends of a good inventory.
Yeah.
Because it's like with those two things, I got a good chance of looking at myself accurately.
Hmm.
And so um humility is humility is a lens for allowing me to see myself accurately.
Okay. And
That's my sentence.
yeah, for sure. And obviously, seeing yourself accurately is the name of the game, right?
Yeah,
Seeing the truth, right? The truth is the name of the game. That's what we're
yeah,
all here for, is but I want to see the truth,
yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just that, the truth through my ego versus the truth through humility are
Yeah,
two different lenses.
for sure.
It's like that the beer goggles thing with girls.
Yeah.
Like, one is like, whoa, you're hot.
Yeah, well, like, or it's like it's like the lie detector test. Like uh, if you had, if you had put me on a polygraph machine, a lie detector test, and, you know, asked me like a month before I got sober, or if you would ask me like when I first got sober, if, being alcoholic was the worst thing that ever happened to me, I'd say yes, and the needle wouldn't move a bit. Right? But if you asked me now and I said yes, I'd be lying. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like do 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 do. But so like what shit? So
But
the answer is
like
the same. Yeah, but like the truth is all about perspective, right? And like you said, humility is the lens. It's the perspective changer.
if and the same thing goes to almost everything on that first inventory. Like
Hmm.
if you had said to me, what was my part in my resentment to my sister,
Yeah,
right? I would have been like nothing.
yeah.
Like
And the needle wouldn't have moved an inch. Yeah,
not an inch. It wasn't
yeah,
until I had the tools of the step forward to break it down
yeah,
and actually and also the clarity of sobriety to
yeah,
do that and look at it, because I wasn't trying to run away from that moment doing that inventory to go do a rip of something.
yeah,
Like, and so that motivation was gone. I was actually trying to save my life. Like that motivation was there,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and that gift of desperation and that clarity of sobriety really allowed me to start, using those tools. And like you could have done that polygraph on all those resentments, and 5 days later it would have been read different on every single
yeah,
resentment, you know because
yeah,
once I started to see my part, it was just like it was like I triggered a freaking avalanche on a mountain range, where it was like, oh, my part, my part, my part. Like the whole mountain of snow was coming down, and there was the actual rocks underneath.
yeah. I really like that idea of like, yeah, like you said, the lens. It's like I got glasses with no lens in them, and I think I'm seeing everything right, but all I'm really seeing is all these blurry fucking shapes and stuff. And then you finally pop in some nice lenses for me, and I go, whoa, there's,
Yeah,
but it starts with little things like, oh, like I didn't know that sign said that or this, and then you start going, well, there's mountains over there, and
yeah.
the frickin' like the sky is that color, and like you start going like it starts getting boo 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 bigger bigger as you continue to observe more, and that's yeah like what happens, and that yeah having that lens in our glasses of life is important, and like you said, humility is the lens.
I had laser eye surgery, and I had glasses from grade 3 till I was 35,
Yeah.
and the vision difference of just being my eye. No
Hmm.
glasses make the world look like actual just clear vision.
Hmm.
And it was just like, and it was the same thing coming into recovery. Like no fantasies looked as real reality is looking to me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
they were
Yeah.
believable for a while, but just like the images with my glasses, let me see a mountain far away. But the first day I got it done in Victoria, and I was living on Cortez,
Yeah.
and the next day it was like sunrise, and we were going over the Malahat there between Victoria and Nanaimo,
Yeah.
and seeing the ocean and the mountains and that sunrise. I was in tears because I had never seen one that clearly since maybe never in my life. Like they
Yeah.
identified me at 9 years old with needing glasses, but how many years did I squint and get away with it? Like
Yeah. Right. But I think that's just a perfect analogy. Like that's
Mm.
really like what's going on in a
It is,
spiritual sense. Yeah.
and like the beauty of the sunrise of a new life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like that clarity in it. It's overwhelming. Like, I mean, man, my friend Scotty and from Red Deer, he says, the gift of faith is more faith, and it's and it really is just like for me, it's like this. These experiences just create more willingness.
Uh-huh.
You
No,
know,
100%. Like, yeah. No, I just think that's super cool. Like, 'cause yeah, it's like this sunrise of a new life, and yeah, like the gift of humility is more humility. Now that does it. I can even saying that out loud, I can feel my insides go, oh, like that does that sound good? Yeah,
yeah,
because humility sometimes is painful. The process to get to humility is sometimes painful, but it kind of gives us a whole new attitude and perspective on pain. I used to think of pain as something that needed to be avoided at all costs, and
yeah,
now it's not so bad. It's just like it's a part of the communication, like
mm,
how would a creator who created us just to be just like him or it or her or whatever, communicate with that thing? This is another Sandy thing.
mm,
I'm stealing, by the way. But he'd do it by keeping us in pain all the time. So there's no avoiding it. You
yeah.
can't get away from it. Hey man, maybe there's a creator of the universe trying to bother
But
bother me all the time. Do you know what I mean?
but
It,
every pain is an opportunity for growth.
yeah,
Like
well, it's just
every pain, whether it's to learn not to do something
yeah,
or to do something else,
yeah.
or just like a course correction. I've got a friend who she does an amazing job at bringing gratitude into every moment, right?
Hmm.
Like that's like one of the keys I see to freedom. And she said every moment is a lesson or a blessing. And I love that saying.
Yeah, yeah. Well, then life stops happening to me and it starts happening for me,
All the time.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's really what's trying. I think the biggest, life just happened to me.
Yeah.
I was just a victim, and victims don't recover, unfortunately.
No, victims have
Yeah,
great pity parties.
yeah. But victim, and not to say that there aren't real victims in
Oh,
this. We're all so there's lots of people who are victims of abuse and all that stuff, but like staying victimized is not not those people don't recover.
yeah, we might
Right.
not be responsible for all of our traumas,
Yeah.
but we are responsible for all of our healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
like
Yeah.
and that's just getting out of that victim. Like I could just be like, oh, my childhood was like this forever and blah
Mhm.
blah blah. Like like I had some reasonable, rough, horrible trauma go
Yeah.
on, and guess what? Like I don't want that to define my entire life.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, the biggest or the only thing that we have about a resentment is that we carried it for
Yeah.
ever. Do you know what I mean? Maybe, I didn't caught, I was a kid. I wasn't responsible for the way my, you know, parents had screaming matches and abused each other and
Mm,
sometimes us or whatever, right? But like I was responsible for carrying that with me forever,
yeah.
right? Like, because the thing about resentment is it's only exists in here,
Yeah.
and that means the only person it hurts is me.
Always.
Yeah.
100%. I agree to that entirely. Would you like another question?
Can we do one more and then wrap it up? Sorry, I got
Yeah,
some other things going on today, but I could do this all
sure.
day. I could do
Yeah.
this literally all day. Like I've
I,
really
I'm loving it.
I've
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought I
Okay,
would have a hard time talking, but I guess I never have a hard time talking. Hey.
dude. You know what? Our conversations are just been some of my favorite in my
Mhm.
life.
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
they may have been self-pitying. Me going, maybe I never have a hard time talking. I'm just very passionate and sometimes I get a little ahead of myself, but that's okay.
Okay, so step 10 is where recovery becomes a way of living, not just a way out. How do you keep this step spiritually alive after all these years?
Yeah, I think it's just that continued part, man. Like it's just like it's continuous. Like there's no break. Like there's just like it's just like it's a constant going like whenever a disturbance arises, bringing it to God, doing the thing. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no
Yep.
like I don't get the luxury of going, nah, this one I'll skip.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like sometimes I get that I think it's just a weird delusion of just like, haven't I done enough? Haven't I recovered enough? Haven't I helped enough people? Haven't I done enough? Can I not have this one thing? And it's
Yeah.
just like, that's not how this shit works, dude.
I 100% agree on that
Yeah.
one. Yeah. Asking for the hall pass on principles doesn't work.
Yeah, it's just continued and just, and I think, that, we claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Again, not meaning that my target isn't perfect, but like I don't claim to be perfect. I don't claim
Mm,
to handle every situation
yeah.
to a T, but I'm able to like when I do act out or I do misbehave or I do harm others, like I'm able to I have a design for living that allows me to mend that to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe I cause too much damage, or I may sometimes the real truth, there's not a goddamn thing I can do.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes the real truth, that's the hardest one for me is when I get in these, you know, situations and I really want somebody to like me or whatever. And sometimes, the talk to my sponsor or whatever, and he's just like, the truth is, John, there's just nothing you can do. It's just forgive and let
Mm.
live and move on. And I go,
Yeah.
right?
Cringe.
But that one's actually the one that benefits me the most. That
Yeah.
one's the most healing is when I can just like I can just allow it to be. Like I don't know. And I
Mhm.
can allow myself to be and there's lots of people I can't help. I can't help everybody, but there's lots of people I can help and maybe it's just not X person or do you know what I mean? Like yeah. And yeah, what about yourself?
Well, how do I keep this step spiritually alive after all these years? First of all, it's not all these years. Like I'm coming up on 2 years, October
Yeah.
1st, which if you want to come, oh, I wanted to
Hey,
tell you before I answer this question and I forget, I have a porch meeting every second Saturday,
yeah.
7 p.m. Just in case you ever want to come down and have some fun on the porch, do
When's
some
your
recovery
next one?
tonight.
Okay.
It's
I'm
every
gonna be
other week.
I guess yeah, I'll be at my home group this tonight. But I could maybe come the next Saturday. Is that what
Yeah,
it
like
is?
2 weeks, every two
Two,
weeks.
yeah, just yeah, maybe if you don't mind,
Oh, yeah.
shoot me a reminder. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
It's
would be
it's
interested in joining.
it's been really cool. So what I did is I took like got a printed out like 31 spiritual principles from As Bill Sees It and
Yeah,
laminated them. So you put your hand in a bag and you pull one out, and that's what you share on.
cool, awesome.
So
That's
it's
awesome.
like random principle chance.
That's a really cool concept for a meeting. I like that a lot.
It's been really fun because it always seems that everybody pulls either what they're struggling like
Yeah,
their life. Like it's amazing how well that lines up over and over. Okay, how do I keep this step spiritually alive right now, not after all these years? But I continue to practice it. I continue to think about it. I continue to actually make my amends. Like I think, like I was saying, it's like I can almost, if I'm playing music and I go to put my hand on a new chord, there's sometimes where I'm going to make a mistake and I'll actually correct the mistake before I even hit the mistake.
hmm
You know, and now there's things inside recovery where I'm about to act effective. I've like almost done it. I
yeah,
pull back and I'm almost step telling myself about something I didn't do.
yeah. It's like the cushion of self-restraint that you have
Yeah.
developed. It's pretty cool.
And
Yeah,
and it's amazing to feel evolution in it. So for me, I keep it spiritually alive by deepening my honesty, by deepening my love, by looking for more purity in it, by trying to be less selfish. And
yeah,
so that just changes how I'm actually seeing what I need to make amends for.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the higher of bar I put up against, the different view I'm going to have on what I need to be making amends for.
Yeah.
If I'm like,
Yeah.
that can slide, that can slide, that can't slide, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, I just got a little overwhelmed. I was just like uh, yeah. It was like a totally different person. I don't know if you
Huh?
know that. You're just like a totally different person. Like the guy that like I met like
Really?
like a year ago. He's just not like the same guy. It's just like
Really?
I think that's one of the coolest things that like God like that person that like joy, that your personality, like who your intrinsic being, like that's the but it's like shining. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
muffled by all these other thing. I don't know if you know what I mean. Like it's just like
Dude, that's like the highest compliment, man.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like you really saw, you kind of saw me 6 months out of options, out
Yeah.
of the treatment center,
Yeah.
and and that was kind of a really the 6 months real point was a real turning point because it was like where I was able to quit smoking,
Hmm.
like, and then that allowed me to start moving towards being healthier,
Hmm.
and that being healthier, it allowed me to just I feel like come alive physically, and then that then kind of led me to being like last fall, okay, where am I absent spiritually? And getting more into that, at the end of October, I remember kind of just doing this thing when a friend had a relapse and being like, I need more prayer and meditation. Like I need to be doing that. That was like what I saw missing in my, and it's just been such an incredible journey. Like I'm really in love with life right now. Like
Yeah.
absolutely.
But it's totally like it's I don't know. The thing that keeps me sticking around and being like involved in this thing and doing this stuff is like watching it happen to you guys.
Hmm.
Like because and having it happen in my own life is wonderful. Like don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Like I'm
Yeah.
stoked about that. But like I'm sure you have that experience as you start to sponsor guys and you start hearing them like talk different.
Oh
Or you
yeah.
start seeing like the light come on a bit, or you start seeing them go like, oh shit, like but like watching the power of God work in your life and totally transform
Hmm.
you from, somebody who had all these problems, kind of who kind of, like despaired of ever solving them, who was kind
Yeah.
of like, up against it and, unsure and,
Hmm.
of himself and his play, to somebody who's like really there,
I feel
and
like a
doing the
different
thing.
person, so I'm really I like that. That felt nice
Yeah,
for
no,
you to
it's
say that.
it's just pretty cool. I just like it's just powerful. Sometimes every once in a while it hits me and I go like, whoa. Like I forget what I'm like being a witness to. Like
Mm,
sometimes I get, I'm like, oh, I gotta go get groceries and I gotta walk the dog and I gotta do that. And I get like sucked into the movie of life and I
mm.
forget like I'm a witness to this like these miracles every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like for myself right now, like I was saying about that gratitude in all circumstances that I'm really
Hmm.
been trying to practice. That brings that miracle into more moments. One
Hmm.
of the things that came to me in my two-way prayer was be grateful in shorter intervals. Like that was
Yeah.
one of the sentences that came out that, man, I'm trying to throw that everywhere in life because gratitude is one of the things that we actually can practice. Like
Yeah.
it's a muscle, and you flex that gratitude muscle, it's like going to the gym, man.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get more gratitude.
Totally. Yeah. One of my I don't know where I got this from. I'm sure I got it from somebody and didn't just pull it out of my ass, but was a prayer like or started doing early sobriety and still try to do is like when things are really difficult or find myself angry or challenged by a something going on in life, a person, it's like when I go to God, stop and just saying, God, thank you that this is happening.
Mm,
Like I wouldn't change this even if I could.
yeah,
Even if I could stop this from being, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't
yeah,
change a thing. I don't know that prayer for some reason, like even if I don't mean it in that moment, but just like
yeah.
saying it, it just helps like so much. I don't know what it is, like that prayer of like, it just like, I don't, maybe it moves me closer to that
I think they do
acceptance.
though. I
Like,
think things like that do.
yeah.
Like if I'm starting to have a defective shortcoming moment with somebody and think I'm like three gratitudes about them right now. Like, and if I do, it almost always is diffusing to that defective, shortcoming behavior. Like
For
I'm like,
sure.
oh shit, I actually do love them. Oh,
Yeah, yeah, I guess they're like, I don't know. I don't know what it is, or maybe it's like that. I think that's wonderful and awesome. I think like also like more, I guess just is like the thank you that it's painful.
yeah.
Thank you that this is hard.
Hmm.
Thank you that like
Well,
I don't thank you I don't get everything I want. Thank you I don't like, do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like yeah, those ones, yeah.
I like, what part of my morning prayer, it's like, thank you for these struggles
Yeah.
that bring about the growth that
Yeah.
brings me serenity.
Yeah.
Like just
Without the
that.
wind, the trees don't grow.
That's right. So, could we do a wee version of the serenity prayer to close out?
Sure, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
God,
God,
grant us the
grant us the
serenity
serenity
to
to
accept the
accept the
things
things
we
we
cannot
cannot
change,
change,
the
the
courage to
courage to
change the
change the
things we
things we
can,
can,
and the
and the
wisdom to know
wisdom
the
to know the
difference.
difference. Amen.
Oh, love you, John.
Me too.
Thanks for coming out, man. And everybody out there, tune in next episode for more recovery fun. Bye bye, everybody. We love
See
you.
ya.
Please help us help others. If you like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.